Hello everybody, welcome back to 10-Minute Reviews. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of authors and books and series that we're going to be reviewing and talking about for you guys, so stay tuned. Plus, we're a very small channel, just a family channel. We're passionate about books, so really help us out. We'd really appreciate that kind of support. Now, for today, I want to talk about another book in the wink wink, nudge nudge type of genre. I want to talk about Shadow by Jan Stryvant. Now, before I actually get into the book, and as usual, I'm going to talk about four things. I'm going to talk about the world, the characters, the plot, and the writing style. Before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Jan Stryvant, because I've read a bunch of his books. He's written under different names that are all kind of twists of that core name, and he has a couple of huge series that are out right now, the Valen's and Valen's Legacy. Yeah, he's a great author, and his writing has definitely evolved over time. There are some of his books that I'm not huge fans of, some that I'm big fans of. This one actually is my favorite. So, going into it. So this one, starting with the world. Now the book is called Shadow by Jan Stryvant. And the world is modern times-ish. There are superpowers. This is a superpowered harem type book. And although harem and not. It's in basically, like I said, modern times. Basically, you know, the world, if you were to look around, only there are superpowers. Superpowers are superheroes, superpower beings, super criminals. You know, this book, the way he writes the world, of course you've got your superhero teams, you've got your Avengers analogs and stuff like that. But typically, when he gets into the superpowers and the bad guys, they're basically like everybody else. You know, the superheroes, they're not really the Avengers. They're more of a police force, a local police force. The supervillains are not
Jokers.
Some of them might be kind of jokerish, but they're not group. They're not bent on world domination. They're not they're not Dr. Evil. They're criminals. I mean, because if you really think about it, if you really kind of leveled up humanity to superpower, yeah, you'd have a few that would try and be, dictators and stuff like that. But considering that most people are smart enough to know that if you try and take over a country, no matter how much power you have behind you, more people with bigger power are going to be coming after you. So in this case, the criminals just become stronger criminals. They just become better criminals. They just become superpower criminals. And that's kind of where it comes from. Now, so that's the world. Now, the character Shadow. Shadow is the main character. Shadow is pretty much the primary character. There's a few other secondary characters that come into it. But Shadow is a super that has a cat form. He's basically, I can't say he's an anthropomorphic cat. He's a human that is able to turn, it's almost like a werecat, except that apparently how his power is based, he can create new cat forms. Now, there's never a whole lot of detail about this. He's got his combat cat form, his usual walking around cat form, and apparently a stealth cat form that's basically invisible. And nothing's ever really explained about that other than how he apparently spends time creating a new form. He has a healing cat form. But outside of that, nothing, again, is really explained how his powers work. So, for the most part, he just kind of stays in his combat form. He does use the stealth form sometimes, healing form when necessary, but mostly just the combat form. Apparently, he never chooses to go back into his human form. Now, the plot. So this is going to be kind of semi-convoluted and like really what's going on. The plot doesn't have an overarching theme to it, because Shadow is not a superhero. He's really not. This book is more of a slice of life kind of book, which some of those can be really boring. Oddly enough, this one is really good. Kind of reminds me of book 3 of the Would You Love a Monster Girl series, where it's just a slice of life in college town. This is more of a slice of life of just a character that's trying to change his life. So eventually they get into the backstory, but Shadow started out as a revenge seeker and killing a certain type of despicable individual. I'm not going to get into what crimes these people have committed, but he basically becomes a hunter. And he's pretty smart, apparently has some money, and spends a significant portion of his life just being a hunter. Apparently even became almost a legendary hunter or legendary killer. And then one day, you got to figure this character is basically couched as, at this time period of his life, he's basically a virgin. He's like a computer programmer by day, vigilante murderer by night, and gets like 2 hours of sleep a night, and has been doing this since his teen or preteen even years. So he basically has no life, has never had no life, has no friends, has no personal connections, eschews them entirely, pushes people away, and just basically like a chance encounter basically gets him laid. And he kind of reevaluates his life at that point and decides, you know what, I've done enough. I've done enough, and I'm just going to live for me. Now, again, he's not exactly what you would call a good person, because, again, he kills constantly, a lot, all the time. So he doesn't want to go be a superhero or anything like that. Now, he's got some money, so he decides he's going to move, go to another town, completely abandon his human form entirely, take what little money he has, and he's just going to live his life. He's going to drink, he's going to party, he's going to bang every chick that he can. He's just going to have fun. A pure hedonistic lifestyle. And that's kind of what the majority of the first part of the book is about. He does come crossways of the heroes from time to time because he is killing, but every time he does kill, it turns out to be self-defense, or he's able to cover it up so that nobody ever finds out when he does decide to go after another bad person. But mostly he hangs out in the criminal circles, going to the parties, banging the chicks, drinking the drinks. But he's not actually a criminal. He doesn't run a criminal enterprise. He doesn't take part in any crimes. He's got his own money. He's basically independently wealthy. He just likes the parties. The way he even puts it in the book when he's asked about that is, well, the bad guys throw better parties, which is actually kind of tough to argue against because you can actually see that. So, so through this, he ends up, like I said, interacting with some of the heroes, and ends up meeting one of the heroes who's, well, he's cat-based. She's actually closer bird-based than anything else, and ends up marrying her. And then there's a couple little conflicts there. He's of course not going to join the hero team, but by the same token, cats are kind of possessive. So that's why I say it's not actually really a harem book, because while he does have multiple women through the first part of his life, they all know, they all not necessarily know about each other, but again, he's just living a hedonistic lifestyle. Now, once he gets married, then it starts to become iffy, because he's going to do what his wife wants. By the same token, he, of course, also has the cat herd, cat pack herd. Did I say herd for cats? Cat pack instincts.
It's tough to herd cats.
And, yeah, especially herding wet cats is always fun. So he does still have some of those cat instincts, so... and he also has a child with one of his women, and eventually the superhero wife becomes not really she actually becomes accepting of it, I guess would be the best way to put it, mostly because some of those other people end up coming to their help. So it's a harem and it's not, because it ends basically with a harem, but there is a part in there where it's very, very iffy because he's trying to be good. He wants to be. He doesn't want to lose what he has built. So he tries not to. It's not until she makes the efforts to meet the others and learn about them before she starts giving permission, stuff like that. But it's very interesting because like one's a madam, one's extremely superpowered. Almost all of them have some forms of superpowers, and again, this is just slice of life. Like I can't give you a full-on plot to it because it just jumps through so many areas. He's got his party time. Then he's got his time where he's getting known by the criminals, not as a criminal, but because he takes no crap from anybody. And every time a powerful criminal tries to dominate him, basically, he kills them, and sometimes in public. If they challenge him, it's the criminal way. You challenge him, you got to fight him. And he doesn't fight to wound. He fights to live, which means you die. And then you got the time period where he gets married to this hero and ends up helping her twice, I believe. Ends up helping her and helping the hero team. Then you've got which is really funny because he meets another cat-based super that gets pretty amusing. And then you've got a time period where his child is threatened and the hero team ends up helping him. And that's where the kind of the past and the present sort of collide, where the previous harem and the current wife end up kind of colliding, is when the child is endangered and then kidnapped. That's best plot description I can give. As far as the writing style goes, Jan Stryvant usually writes with a a certain flair, I suppose. His books are really, really interesting just because of the writing style. It's very entertaining, very engaging, very, very gripping. It's tough to put down, and to me, this is one of his absolute best books. I will have to say, though, that I do think that Jan Stryvant kind of has a thing for cats, because this is not the first one of his books with a cat person in it. But
Like
otherwise,
a thing for cats?
please hit your like and subscribe buttons, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.